So these returns are pretty amazing.
Yes.
I'm like getting a little stuck on that now. So we had a 200% return. And then, wow. So I'll just 240, 245, 262. Well, a couple of them are a piddly 83% and 98%. That's a little sad, I suppose. But better than 0.01 that we're getting in our checking account.
Yes.
Wow. So that's amazing. So you can buy the land and resell it. And then you talked about being the banker.
Right.
You actually finance people.
Right.
Okay. And that sounded fairly easy because you've got a company helping you with that.
Right.
With collecting the payments. I know one of the big fears with investors is, what if they don't pay me? Like, how do I know they're going to pay me?
Right.
And you hear disaster stories about having to foreclose and stuff. So how many of these people end up not paying you?
Well, so far, thankfully, I haven't had that. I try to collect sufficient down payment where they've got some skin in the game. And thankfully, no one has defaulted yet, so I haven't
Wow.
had to do the foreclosures thing. And typically, the way I set up the loan payments is such that the down payment that I collect, I made whole within 12 to 18 months.
Oh.
And then the rest is profit after that. So I try to set the down payment up in that fashion. And so maybe it's because they're putting, 20 to 30% down that they just are less likely to default.
And why would they take your loan at 9.99% instead of just a bank loan at 4%?
Well, typically, my understanding is banks don't typically like to lend on land, so I kind of fill that niche. I'm charging actually 8.9 now. It was 9.9 when I started.
Oh, okay. That's nice of you.
Yes. So I think just because it's very simple for them, there's really no qualifying involved. They're approved if they have the down payment.
So the big down payment's kind of the safety for you, but also their motivation to
Correct.
keep paying, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. So Renee, I wanted to back up because I know the reason we started this radio program is because people have a lot of fear that stop them from investing. And one of the things is, like, if I become the bank, people may foreclose, right? So are you not afraid of that, or?
Well, of course, there's a piece of it that you're afraid of that, but not so much, because the way I manage that risk is the down payment that I collect. And also, the loan servicing company that I use will handle the foreclosures if I need to do that. And then it's a matter of taking back the property, and you keep already the money that you've collected thus far. So I don't do the really inexpensive, $200 down and you're in. I don't do that. So
Right.
I make sure I collect sufficient enough down payment that I don't have to worry about that so much.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think the servicer creates like a formality to it that makes them see it's serious? Do you think there's a part of it, like, because some
Yes.
people collect payments themselves, have it sent to their home.
Right.
They do all that themselves, right?
I definitely think that helps because it is a formal system. They can log on and make their payment. They can mail their payment. They can, make their payments in different ways. And because I'm out of the loop, they're the third party handling it. It is a more formalized process.
Right. So they may take it more seriously or not try to, like with tenants often will try and push the envelope on when they send their rent or those kinds of things. So being the bank, I would think, is the same risk that people might, pay late or, push that envelope too, right? So
Right.
I was thinking maybe that's what it is.
I've had some late payments, but they always come around so far, thankfully. I've had about 10 loans so far that I've serviced in this time.
Okay.
2 have paid off, so I think I'm down to about 8 right now.
You don't know?
I'm pretty sure it's 8, and it's about $1,500 a month.
I think when your hands off, I think
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
sign that
yeah.
you're not too sure, right? Because
Yeah.
it's going smoothly for you.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so are you going to continue to do land investing, or is this something you want to continue doing, or was this just a way to make money to buy something else?
Oh no, absolutely. I will continue. I plan to continue doing this long term. Like I said, it's my passion. It's a great way to make lumps of money on the bulk sales to buy like the apartment complex or whatever it is I want to do, as well as reinvest in other land. And the owner financing brings that passive income that I'm looking for as well.
And then, so this these returns are pretty high. So some people might think, hey, this is a big tax problem. What do you say to people that say that's a big tax problem right there?
Well, I guess it if you weren't making money, it doesn't really matter, right? You're making money. So in the end of the day, you're making money. So taxes are taxes. You got to pay them no matter what. So it is what it is, but I'm still making money.
So you're happy to pay the taxes because
Correct.
that represents
Right. So I'm
success.
making money.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, because believe it or not, I've had people tell me that.
Oh, okay.
You know, which is
okay.
funny. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to pay the tax. Oh, okay, then
Don't
better
make the
not
money.
be successful.
Right.
Okay, so tell me about this matchmaking thing.
Okay, so you want to talk about the contract assignment. So that's something that I started last year, and I'll tell you the first deal that I did, which felt really great. It was a woman who called and said that she had inherited 3 parcels of land, beachfront properties up in Northern California from her grandmother. And she was in a bad situation. She had just lost her job. Her house was in foreclosure. It was really a bad situation. And she said, I just need to sell these quick. She found me online. She said, I just need $10,000.
Wow.
Actually, she said,
For
no, she
beachfront?
said she needed $8,000 to $10,000 total for all 3 parcels. So I looked with my online tools. It's near $1 million homes, and I said, okay, I was
Wow.
going to buy them myself. Beautiful, absolute beautiful. But my research showed that they weren't buildable because it was a compromised body of water. It's where in Jenner, California, where the Russian River meets the ocean, and they weren't buildable. So, because you couldn't put a septic system or anything in there. So I told her, unfortunately, they're not buildable. Your best bet would be to sell them to the neighbors, and you're welcome to do that on your own. You don't really need me for that. Or I can try and do it for you, and I'll take my fee from the buyer. She said, I have too much stress. I don't want to deal with it. Just get what you can get.
Wow.
So I said, okay. So I actually did a contract with her for 8, one for 10, and one for 15, because I wasn't sure what I was going to get, because there really was no comparables in this unique property. So I then
So you wrote up 3 different contracts.
wrote up 3 contracts with her
Okay.
because I told her, I'll try and get you what I can get you. I really don't know. I'm going to have to test it. So I called the 2 adjacent neighbors. One happened to be a real estate attorney, the owner that owned the property next to hers, and then another lady. So I called, I left him a message at his office, said, my name's Renee Riker. I'm a real estate investor. I have a property under contract adjacent to your home. We're selling the properties for $24,000. If you're interested, call me.
Just like that. Laid
Just
it
like
on
that.
the
Boom.
line.
Just
Telephone
right
line.
that.
Okay.
And then 15 minutes later, he called. He said, I know exactly those properties. I was going to write a check for $50,000 a few years ago, but the seller wouldn't sell.
Wow.
So to him, he's excited because he sees an opportunity for 50% profit in his mind, right? So anyway, long story short, I ended up selling it to him, and I got the seller $15,000. He paid the $24,000, and I got a $7,000 assignment fee for matchmaking that deal.
Wow.
So not a penny out of my pocket, just a little bit of time.
And how much, because that does sound like a lot of research, and someone might say, well, how do I know that this land is not buildable, and how would I find out? So how did you find all that stuff out?
I found it out just by talking to different people that specialized in that area. Actually, in this, every case is different. In this particular case, the grandmother had worked with an agent in the area that had the properties listed years prior. So I actually went that route and talked to that agent and found out certain things and talked to the county offices, planning and zoning and so forth.
Wow. So how long did that take you to do that research? Do you remember?
Oh, just probably
An hour, a couple of
maybe,
hours? I mean-
yeah, within a day or two, just between phone calls back and forth.
Wow. That's astounding. And so what was the second? You said you've done 3 so far, right?
Right. The second one was a person looking to sell, again, it was land he had inherited, I think, from his grandfather. And he wanted $50,000, I believe, is what he wanted for his property. And that was typically a higher price point than I was used to dealing with, because typically I would try to do assignments for cash and not do owner financing, because typically the seller wants cash,
Right.
quick cash. So anyway, that one I ended up selling like within a couple of weeks of marketing it, and I got $5,000 for that one.
For just matching up this seller
With the buyer.
With the buyer.
Right.
And the buyer had cash, or
Yeah.
you were just out of it? Okay.
Just had cash.
Wow.
So just turned over the contracts to the title company that I used, and they closed the deal and cut me a check at the end.
Wow. For making that matchup. Okay. And what was the third one about?
The third one, trying to remember how I got that one. Again, it was somebody I think that found me online, and that one, the seller wanted $10,000, and I got a $2,500 assignment fee, and sold that one really quick as well. Within
Through
a
your
few weeks.
website? Or
Well, I put everything on my website, but I put it on a bunch of other websites, and Craigslist and Landwatch and Landflip and different places and Postlets. So I don't remember where the lead came from, but it was
Right.
one of those.
wow.
And I also have a buyer's list that I've been building up for 5 years. So I've got about 800 people on that I send email blasts to.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess there's more and more websites that you can go to, right, to find these things.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was legal entities. Like, how do you hold your property, or how do you hold your investments? Like, we all know at work our retirement money's in a thing called 401k, right? So it's in this shell. So do you have money in entities, or like I've heard of IRAs? Have you tried doing one
Right.
of these self-directed IRAs?
So both. So
Okay.
I have my husband and I both invest in our 401k. Has been doing that for years. But I also have a self-directed Roth IRA that I can buy real estate in and sell, and the money comes back tax-free. So I've done that once already with my self-directed Roth IRA, and I have money sitting there. Now that you remind me, I need to go buy another piece of land in that. Yeah.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad I could remind you
yeah,
of that.
Yeah, so I do that as well. And
Wow.
then the way I take title to the properties that I own is through my company, which is an LLC.
Oh, okay. You mean the single
The
family
dirt.
homes?
No, the dirt.
The dirt.
land.
Okay.
The land.
So the land is in an LLC, but then you also have this IRA that you're buying land in.
Right.
Okay. And so how do you hold the real estate, the single family homes? How do you hold title to those? Or what have you done over the years? I guess you've
Yeah,
kind of
I've
had
actually
different ideas on this.
yeah, I've done different things, both taking title in our names and putting in an LLC. So, and I'm currently actually researching different structures of what's the best way to do that, because it gets very complicated, and depending on who you talk to, you get different answers all the time. Mm-hmm. So,
And of
I'm
course
still
you don't like
researching
that, so you're checking it out for
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm researching that.
Wonderful. So back to the IRA though. So how do you buy the land in the IRA?
So there's a custodian. You don't touch the money yourself. So there's it's a third party company really that the deed is put in the name of the IRA to the property.
Oh.
All bills are paid out of the name of the IRA. And then when you sell the property, the money goes back to the IRA name. So you don't really ever touch it. And then my understanding is, I think you can take that when you're 59 and a half.
Like
that
a
you know more than me.
like a
Yeah.
traditional IRA. So the money's just growing in there, tax free, I guess, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and then the LLCs, you're just gonna think about that and do research, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to talk about where investors find information, if you're a new investor and you just want to start learning, what would you suggest someone does?
Well, I would say try to research what you can on your own before you go spend a lot of money on expensive coaching. There's a lot of books that you can read. There's great blogs, just real estate investing blogs that you can check out.
Are there any you can think of, or?
Well, I know yours is good.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
And my friend, he has one, reitipster.com. That's a good one.
Okay. REI Tipster. Okay.
And then I think you really just have to figure out for yourself what you're comfortable with, because while I can explain what it takes to do land investing from my perspective, you have, like I've told people, it's great, I love it, and I walk them through it. They're like, wow, that's great, but I could never do that. It's not my DNA. So you really have to figure
Right.
out what is your comfort zone.
Okay, well, this has been super fun. Again, you're listening to Investors Corner with Athena Paquette, today with my guest Renee Riker on Life Oasis Empowerment Radio Network. If you'd like to get in contact with Renee, the real estate matchmaker, Renee, why don't you give them your information of where they could reach you?
Okay, so the blog again is Land Profit Generator Jack Bosch, BOSCH.com.
Wonderful. And our next show is Saturday, March 8th from 11 to 12, and we'll have another amazing guest, which is Sherry Ashman, who is the operator of a management company who will tell you all the good, bad, and ugly of property management, whether you do it yourself or you hire a manager. So be sure to go to my website or Facebook page, and the info is athenapaquette.com. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Athena Paquette.